Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Selectmen's meeting of February 5th, 2019. Roll call, please.
All 5 selectmen present this evening.
Okay. Pledge of allegiance. Okay. Lead us in the pledge, please.
Get it?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Announcements.
Okay. You have anything?
I have nothing here.
No.
Mary? Peter?
Nah.
Nothing today, then?
Citizens' comments. Anybody here to speak to us?
No, sir.
No?
Please.
Come on,
Kenny is.
got one guy,
All right.
one gentleman.
Good evening, all. When I brought my dad up this evening, I'm wondering if we can have a plaque inside the elevator designating the selectmen's room. I think it might have came down, the button. I
Oh, so
believe.
you know which button it is?
Yeah, the 5th floor, yes.
We should mention
Yeah,
that.
top floor.
Yeah, we can mention that.
Why don't you,
Absolutely.
why don't you officially submit something to the Selectmen's office? A request? That's how it has to go.
Do we have to do that?
We'll take care
But you
of
need a
it.
request.
I just heard one.
Yeah, but just drop a.
It's on, it's actually on the tape now, so.
Yeah,
So-
it'll be part of the minutes.
About a minute, but if you can, just put something in.
Okay, because I believe there was one there before,
Okay.
and I think it's probably like a sticky tag there,
Probably.
and just so
Okay.
for everybody's safety.
Yeah,
Somebody
thank
probably
you.
stole it for a souvenir.
Pardon?
Somebody probably stole it for a souvenir.
Anything's possible.
And, yeah, exactly. My point.
How about board comments?
Nope,
Tony.
nothing.
Mary?
I do not.
Peter?
No.
Nothing tonight for me either.
Just a simple comment that the Life program is still working smoothly. The traffic is almost non-existent as far as any effects whatsoever. There's been no issues, and everything is moving along very smoothly. That's it for me.
All right, appointments.
Actually, hold on a second, I'm sorry. I apologize. We did lose a very special person in the town of Wareham
Yes, we did.
last Thursday,
Forgot about
and I
that.
do apologize. Mr. Wheeler was a strong advocate of the environment. One of his things he really loved doing was kayaking. And I remember spending time on the Marine Resources Commission, and Dick's desire was to make Wareham a kayak center of New England virtually. And I hope that when we move forward and we do have a kayak facility, whatever comes next, it's written in his memory. And I'd ask for a moment of silence as well. Thank you.
Okay, next is appointments, and I have a bunch of certified weighers. I'm gonna just read their names. They're all appointed for the same amount of time, and I'll read it accordingly, all right? David St. Germain, Daniel Willeka, hold on, Brett Willeka, Toby Gonzalez, Leonard Bissett, and Lauren Lefevre.
In favor.
Lefevre?
I believe they all work for the moving
I
company.
move that we appoint them as certified weighers to a term to expire no later than June 30th, 2020.
Second.
Motion by Patrick, second by Tony. Any questions from the board? None heard, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. Thank you.
Licenses and permits, we have none. Next would be to vote to authorize the agreement for Organa.
Do you want to wait till the town administrator's in for
I
that?
would.
Okay.
So we hold that aside?
Next item B is,
Review of policy 08.
Yeah, we got discussion update on,
yeah, we're going to hold on that one because I got a call in from Oak Grove Cape Verdean Cultural Center. They asked if we hold that off. They're renegotiating something else right now. So they asked us to hold off on that extension they asked for.
okay.
They'll be back shortly.
Now, if you remember right, I asked them to bring this policy back to us 0801 because, again, we have a new member and we should vote these every year.
Yeah.
What we've been doing is letting the town administrator appoint everybody without any
For
question.
ratification, yeah.
Except for department heads,
Thank you.
Which is in the policy.
right? So I move that we continue that policy.
Second.
So we're going to reaffirm the policy
Reaffirm it,
that we reaffirmed back in 2015.
correct.
Yeah.
That's the motion.
Yes.
Motion by Patrick, second by Peter. Any questions from the board? None heard, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500.
All right, next up is the appointment of town council. Town council has agreed to be reappointed for the exact same amount of money. Boy, this guy, I'll tell you, he must have lots of money. He never, he just keeps on going like the Energizer Bunny. So I move we appoint town council, Richard Bowen for another year.
Second.
Do we have any questions from the board at all?
Nope.
Mr. Bowen's not here today due to an emergency in Douglas. Douglas did something very bad, I guess, because the DEP is taking him to court, so he had to be there for an executive session to figure out what they did and how to fix it. Nothing else, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? Motion was by Patrick, second by Peter.
I just want to make a
Zero.
comment that he's done a fine job ever since I've been on the board.
Saved us a huge
He's
amount.
saved us millions. He's kept us all out of hot water. He's kept many of our boards out of hot water. He's the king of proper procedure, and it's a pleasure working with him.
I know for myself, I bring him questions all the time. He kind of laughs, and he gives me answers not that I want to hear. He gives us the correct answer, which a lot of times when you have a town council, a lot of councilors are basically trying to give the answer that the Board of Selectmen want to hear, you know, not what's actually the real thing, and that's the biggest thing, and that's why he does keep us out of trouble. And all five of us here have to talk to him every once in a while, and thankfully, he keeps us under control. Thank you.
All right, so next up is discussion and vote include articles in Springtown meeting. I have the ones for CPC here.
Yep, and we've got some others.
Um,
Also, just so you know, we need to go back over the articles for the zoning, you know, for the
Yeah,
planning board,
I got-
because
I
what we
got
had
those,
were
yeah.
not the originals.
yeah,
And I had
those
them
two.
resent.
I got the zoning articles
Yeah.
here, too. I'll do the CPC ones first.
Do we want to, one of them I do have a question for council on.
Yeah, okay. Is it CPC stuff?
Yeah.
or- It is? Okay.
And if we have different zoning than what I've seen,
Well, I'd like to hold this one until next week
Not
anyway,
different.
to vote on.
They're the actual, what we had, excuse me, what we had before was
Only for,
stuff that Ken had put together a month and a half ago. It wasn't what
Okay.
they actually voted on, because I went and looked at it, and I thought that's what it was, and I had, remember, it had 4 or 5 extra pieces on it. So I had Ken submit the actual 4 articles that they approved.
so there's actually 3. I'm just gonna mention the CPC articles.
Right.
There's 3. One is new housing units at Agawam Village, the Community Preservation Reserve Fund, and the other one is the track at the school, which I guess now has changed to 200,000? To
Yes.
200,000, has been raised to 200,000,
It was withdrawn by the school, then came back.
correct?
And they did file in time last night. CPC did have a meeting at 4 o'clock last night with the school department, and CPC did vote for the 200,000 versus the 175, which included fencing and some other things. So
I
that
think there's some questions to be asked here.
we can, if you want, we can do the one on the reserve.
We can
Because
do
that's
that,
a s-
that's a pretty
that's a s-
boilerplate
it's just a
one
housekeeping
anyway.
one anyway.
That's a standard procedure.
That's not gonna, I mean, but I have questions about the other stuff, just questions and stuff that I wanna get some answers to.
You wanna
Maybe
ask
we do it
Mrs.
next week?
You want to ask Mrs. Slavin?
Well, I mean,
One of
I
I have
think-
a legal
why
question
don't we
on
just
one.
wait and do it next week?
Reschedule that for,
You know what I mean? No big deal, right?
we have to close the warrant next week.
I mean, it's
Yeah,
stuff that, I mean, this has come up before, and this one here is, you know, doesn't seem to be, I hadn't heard any opposition to it, so we'll, you know, I don't think it's gonna be a big deal, but maybe a little more.
I suggest we vote to put on the warrant the third one, which is,
Okay,
there's no question on.
all right, so I move we approve the FY 2020 Community Preservation Fund Reserve warrant article.
Second.
Motion by
Put on the
Patrick,
warrant.
second by Peter. Any questions? None heard, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500.
All right, next up is the zoning articles. It says, proposed article, let's see. To see if the town will enact the following amendments to Article 5 of the zoning bylaw or take any other action relevant thereto. And it says amend Section 530, unregistered vehicles, boats, or trailers. So basically, we're going to add Section 535, outdoor storage, and, let's see, Section 530 is going to be, no person or property owner shall have or allow more than one unregistered motor vehicle, camper, or trailer, or part thereof, ungaraged or any premises at any time, unless so authorized in writing by the Board of Selectmen, and in no event shall any such vehicle or part thereof be stored or located in the front yard of the premises. Any premises licensed under the provisions of General Law, Chapter 140, Section 57 through 69, and any amendments thereto shall be accepted from this subsection. And then proposed Article 2, to see if the town will enact the following amendment to Article 11 of the zoning bylaws, and it's to amend Section 119, subsection 10, and replace displayed on public or private way with displayed on privately owned property, not state or town or county utility-owned properties with permission of said owners. Also add traffic signs after light poles in the next sequence. There's a lot to this, so, off-premises directional signs, it's quite extensive to read. I mean, I don't think we should.
Straightforward.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward, but it is. So there's a bunch of changes on that one. And amend section 1122, the first paragraph, and add, such fine shall be attached to property tax bills by the town treasurer when submitted by the Director of Inspectional Services. So that must be the acceptance of that piece of, remember we accepted that piece of law, now this is putting the teeth in.
Right, that, whatever was section U?
Yeah, section U, right, exactly. Existing bylaw, violation and penalties. Violation of any provision of this bylaw or any lawful order of the Direction of Inspectional Service or his and her agent shall be subject to the fine of not more than $250 per offense per day that such violation continues. Shall constitute a separate offense for each day. Enforcement shall be in accordance with section 1111 of this bylaw. Then amend section 1133, remove section 1133 completely.
Duplication.
Yeah, it's a duplication, I guess, yeah. Off-premises directional, so 113.4, off-premises directional signs that do not restrict visibility no larger than 6 square feet may be displayed on public or private ways for a maximum of 24 hours for such one-day events. Yard sales, open house, road races. These signs may be erected as a matter of right without the necessity of license or assigned permit. Next, amend section 1135 as follows. Add subsection 4. Such signs may be placed 30 days before the actual election date. Add subsection 5. Such signs are not allowed on town, state, county, or utility company properties. Also see 119 subsection 10 for additional restrictions. Existing bylaw says such signs are permitted on private property if they are stationary, unlighted, and temporary. Such signs may not exceed 6 square feet. Such signs shall be removed within 7 days of the posted election results. And we're going to add subsection 117.6. All freestanding signs shall have a minimum front yard setback of 5 feet. Proposed article, number 3, to see if the town meeting will enact the following amendment to Article 5 of the zoning bylaw or take any action relevant thereto. Amend section 590 solar energy bylaw as follows. Amend section 592.1 special permit granting authority. The zoning board of appeals shall be the special permit granting authority for the large ground-mounted solar energy facilities requiring a special permit under the law, under the bylaw. 592.2, site plan review special permit granting authority. The planning board shall be the site plan review special permit granting authority for large ground-mount solar energy facilities under the bylaw in residential districts. Existing bylaw, special permit granting authority, the zoning board of appeals. The site plan is the special granting authorities is the planning board. Delete sections 595.6 and 595.7 and replace with the following. Tree clearing, no more than 50% of the property may be cleared of trees, including trees cleared within the previous 5-year period, unless parts of an approved forest management project. Aerial photos may be used to show age of trees, clearing zones, and if corresponding to the 5-year period of record. 7, setbacks. Front, side, and rear setbacks shall be at least 50 feet on the applicant's property, provided, however, that when the lot is located in a residential district, the setback shall not be less than 200 feet on an applicant's property. This includes 200-foot setbacks on all lot lines abutting a residential district regarding of zoning designation for the proposed site. Vegetation screening shall be provided for a minimum of 50% of the specific setback. Every abutter property shall be visibly and acoustically screened from the installation through either existing vegetation or new plantings of not less than 8 feet in height at the time of planting, staggering at a space of no more than 8 feet apart throughout the required setback dimensions. All required plantings shall be maintained throughout the project's life and replaced as necessary. As an alternate to the providing of the required screening through vegetation is acceptable to increase the setbacks to 600 feet on the applicable property while providing an acceptable alternative screening such as stockade fences, single rows of vegetation in close proximity to the project. Existing bylaw, clear cutting of trees. It just has the existing bylaw now that's being changed. The proposed article, to see if the town meeting will enact the following amendment to Article 15, site plan review of the zoning bylaw, or take any action thereto. Amend section 1510. 1510.1 at the end of the first section change by provision of to providing for, and at the beginning of sentence change facilities of handling to facilities of handling. Okay. So there's something wrong with that because it's the same. It's the same. Exactly the same.
I hate to interrupt, but trying to do this and trying to remember everything you're reading and everything else.
Well, it's
and
difficult.
Especially yeah, it is. Why don't we wait until next week to vote to put these on?
Okay.
Let's just get them all in hand. Maybe we can get this all printed out and in hand.
Maybe
so
somebody
we
else can get them and read them, I mean, so
Yeah.
that we can get them
I'll
done.
read them next week, don't worry.
All right.
But I just think we should hold off until next week on these. What do you think?
Yeah, that's fine.
There's a couple you could go from now, basically the ones on section 530, which is.
Yeah,
ones
that's
that-
the one.
Sorry. Section 530, we already had this before. This is stuff that
Yep.
was supposed to come before town meeting. It was further study. So they finished it off. The signed bylaws, the only piece they had was the question they had on the collection, which they finally realized that we already adopted 40U. The next two sections, I'm not sure, we have the right to put on, not put on, but there are some things there that maybe, I'm going to use the word draconian as far as a 200-foot setback, which I'm not sure whether that actually virtually defeats anybody trying to get a solar field on residential. But I think that's really town meeting's decision.
Well, before we see that, I'd like to, what does that do? We usually, when we've presented articles or brought it up for zoning, we've shown the zones, we've shown the impacts,
That's why
we've
I'm
shown.
saying numbers 3 and 4.
Yeah.
We may want to look at it a little more.
Yeah, I've got a real
Okay.
question about that, because even in the BDOD, technically, that's residentially zoned, so,
That's
I
my
mean,
concern.
those lots are all big enough that I don't think 200 feet's gonna make any difference to those people, but, I mean, think about this is why I wanted, a year ago, I suggested a further study committee for this stuff, or a study committee for solar, because I think it's a lot more complicated than just, banning it from certain areas and trying to use setbacks to limit it to certain areas of town. I get the desire to do that, but I'm not sure that this does what it's intended to do, and might be draconian, as you said.
Well, I understand is this was created from a municipality that aimed to stop solar development. So is that what we're planning on doing?
I would hope not.
It's
That's why I'm
it's a
saying
de facto way of doing
We
it.
can vote on the first two, and hopefully next week everybody will have a chance to read it and be ready, prepared.
Yeah, might need, maybe they should further
Yes,
study it.
If the
or-
board's willing, we can vote on the first two and
Yeah.
hold off on 3 and 4.
You wanna do that?
That's fine.
I don't care, that's
Okay.
fine. We can do that if you want.
But again, we can't, I just want to make a comment that the planning board has done their job, so you can't sit there and complain they haven't done their work and it's not ready to go. It is ready.
No, I would be helpful next week, though, if we had a representative from the planning board here whom we could ask questions.
We can do that, or ask Mr. Buckland, who obviously oversees that as well.
All right, so I move we approve, put on the warrant articles, proposed Article 1 on our paperwork and proposed Article 2. Okay?
Second.
Motion by Patrick, second by Peter. Any questions from the board? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, 500. I'll move everything to next week for the balance.
Yep.
Same thing on, you had on CPC?
Yeah, CPC, we have 2 things you want to bring back,
Yep.
right? We did the one right away, but we got to bring back the other ones, the other
Okay.
2 for the final.
And
Plus, there was one article from the redevelopment authority for Littleton Drive.
we have,
You and I talked about
Yeah,
that.
yeah, it just says Littleton Drive like on the paperwork, but it doesn't, they didn't send us any of the paperwork for it.
Yeah.
It just says on the sheet Littleton
Right.
Drive, but it doesn't.
But I know you and I had talked about
Yeah.
your desire to make sure that it didn't turn into another lease disaster like
Exactly.
Westfield did. But we had talked that didn't have to be in the article. The selectmen could impose that
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah, I just
So-
want, it's nothing for the article, we
Right.
just want to impose it so that it
Yeah,
doesn't.
in the actual deed, you're going to want
So
that
that doesn't
language. 'Cause
have a
that's
problem.
The deed is more lasting than anything we do
Yeah,
at
yeah,
town
yeah,
meeting.
no, that's fine, I just want to make sure that everybody understands that we're not going in the housing business.
Right. So we can bring that back next week when we have the actual text in front of us, too, because I wouldn't ask the board to vote on that without the
Okay.
text directly in front of them.
Mr. Chairman, I was, excuse my lightness, I was meeting with Mr. Konish, who had the Candle Paper Lane article from the
Good.
residents. Some interesting information, so I think maybe we can meet this week, go over it, and see if we bring that back up on Tuesday.
Okay,
Yeah,
Yeah, that would-
Tuesday's the last day, right?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
So we gotta hammer everything that's gonna go in on Tuesday.
yes. Yeah, he called into the office today.
yeah,
I thought he
and
was going to be here, actually.
he and I spoke about it, and we'll probably see him here next Tuesday, but
You were nice, too.
I'm always nice.
Sorry.
Okay, Pinocchio.
All right. The last thing is to go, before we go to any other businesses, to go back to the agreement, the host agreement.
Derek, you want to speak?
But for the,
Organa,
Organa,
I believe Selectman Tropiano has some questions.
okay.
I do. It has a $300,000 cap on it.
Mm-hmm.
Why?
That's what we were going through with them, was the $300,000 cap. That's, if you remember, that's manufacturing and sales, that's not retail marijuana.
Yeah,
So
but
we're
they,
not doing a retail operation there.
yeah, but the commission allows us to do 3% overall, right?
And I think we've got, I think the full package is a very, very good and fair package.
Full package. You want to enlighten me on the full package?
I can do it if you want.
Yeah, that's, if you look at it, we currently are gaining for the town $184,000 a year in rent, for facility, and we're also getting a host community agreement. That's, the Organa Brands is the one located at Tremont now,
I knew that.
yeah.
But
so-
$184,000 in rent?
Yes.
This
Okay.
was essentially what was presented to town meeting, too, at the time when we asked for the rezoning. What's come up,
The rent for the year.
For 1 year.
what people may not know is that presently, because of the presence of mold in the building. And of course, mold is death to any of these marijuana operations in any form, whether it's growth or processing or even retail. They are going to be removing the entire skin of that building and replacing it. So essentially, we're getting a brand-new building.
That's a
out of
quarter,
as well.
$250,000 worth of work that we are not funding.
Okay, so 184 plus over 5 years plus, I imagine they're paying the taxes.
That is, once it's a triple net lease, plus once we rent something out for non-municipal
okay.
lease.
All right, I guess it makes sense. You know, I just hate to see us limit any of these things to $300,000, you know what I mean? Especially when we're entitled to 3%.
Yep.
And, you know, we haven't done that with anybody else,
We've not.
limiting our, you know, our money, so, but if they're gonna pay that kind of rent, which is considerable, and then pay the cost of repairing the building over the 5 years, even if they got up to, you know, let's say they got up to 10 million, it'd be 600 grand is, you know, at 300,000 is 10 million, right?
We,
So even if they got to $20 million, it's still under, we're still being
Yeah.
overpaid.
We're still
and
a
we're
good deal.
personal
a good
property
deal.
tax they
Okay.
pay besides the real estate.
All right, as
too,
long as it's a
so.
good deal, that's okay with me. I mean, I just hate to see us, when we're entitled to something, to limit it, and I understand now why you've limited it. Because I wasn't happy in the beginning. I was cranky, in fact. And I should have known better, because, you know, anybody, when it comes to money, I should have known you were on that, so.
I told you.
The only
Actually,
one-
this
the
time
only-
it wasn't him, it was Buckland who
Yeah.
was the...
Oh, really?
Oh, he was the one who played
Buckland-
hardball.
Buckland
Just
did all
remember, in negotiations, Ken never blinks.
this. No, he
Just
doesn't.
remember, Ken never blinks, period, even when he's sleeping.
That is funny.
Just doesn't blink.
It's not an inside joke.
Can't
folks.
believe you said that.
It's actually true.
Yeah.
It's just what happens.
Yeah, he's one of those people, right, that doesn't blink. There's people who
blink.
do not blink.
Yes, it's
Quiet.
very unsettling when you're across the table from him, trying to hammer something out.
Beautiful negotiations.
It
yeah.
is.
We
I gotta
nev-
practice that.
You would never want to play poker with him,
No.
ever.
All right, so is any, go ahead, you can ask anybody else if they have questions. I've got mine answered.
Tony, Mary, Peter.
Oh, everybody's willing to throw it up now. Sure, leave me out there.
The reason we have this before us is that, you know, there was some misconception that we've actually approved any of the host agreements, you know, by a vote of the board, so that's why I asked it to be brought forward. I have a motion by Patrick.
Yeah, I moved that we approve the host agreement.
I need a second. By Tony. Any questions to the board? None heard? All those in favor?
I,
Opposed, abstained, 500.
All right, next is any town business not reasonably anticipated the last 48 hours.
Tony? Mary?
No, sir.
Peter?
God, I hope not.
Patrick?
I have nothing.
Alan, no.
TM report.
Thank you. I'm looking at not next week due to the prior packed agenda, but the following week to give the board the proposed budget presentation.
Okay.
Does that work for everyone? So I'm
Sure.
thinking the,
You have the
And,
financial statements available for us for the past years? Sometime, just a date idea when you give them to us?
yeah, I can get you the year to date so far. It should be, the expenditure should be through, I think, we should have December's up to date. That's my
Have
last.
Peter give us an analysis.
It's numbers, I don't care about them.
Sorry, it's another inside
That's the
joke.
problem.
Thank you.
Also, Mr. Pigeon has graciously moved the all-day budget hearing for the Finance Committee to Thursday, February 28th. So that's when we'll be handling.
Okay, great.
28th?
Starts
You
at
didn't do it on the 29th?
8 o'clock? February 28th at 8 p.m., 8
Yeah.
a.m. Room 27 or in here?
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
here's the better for those meetings.
Okay. Sorry, Derek, go ahead.
No, and that's you know where our heart is right now. We're working on the budgets and
Oh, yeah.
meeting with everyone, so.
Liaison reports.
Tony? Mary? Nope. Peter? No. You had meetings today?
I did,
Okay.
but I'm waiting for
Yeah,
other
I'm
people
gonna pass
to be
tonight,
notified
too.
of our decisions first.
I'm gonna
Oh,
pass
I
tonight.
just didn't think you have any decision. I just thought you'd let people know that
Oh, no, we had a meeting.
What you were
I'll
doing, though.
talk about the decision next week after the results go out.
you don't want people to know that have a project that's...
That leaves you up, buddy.
Don't do it next
Okay,
week.
that's fine.
You're on your own.
I'm always on my own. Today, I spent time back up in Taunton. They did a presentation, Mass Housing Program. We had a couple different people, one from DHCD as well there. I did express frustrations with the SHI and stuff that we do as far as how mobile homes are not included, yet they admit they're affordable housing, which really, when you ask the question, they say, yeah, it's affordable, yet it doesn't count. We don't get credit, we don't get anything. I don't know if we've even put an article in again for the home rule petition for this spring town meeting, actually.
I thought we had decided, or, I don't know if we actually
we've been
formally
kicked enough?
decided, but,
Kicked enough.
well, I mean, were we gonna look at a different way of measuring it? Wasn't there some thought of, even if we just asked them to count half of a unit,
Well, what I did,
or something like that? I thought that was something that was,
but that's also been done by Senator Pacheco and never gone anywhere either. He actually was willing to count, his bill had 50%.
when was that? When did he file his bill?
A year ago.
Just a year?
Well, same as Susan's, they both went together.
So I knew historically he had talked about that in the past, but I didn't know he filed it
No, he
as
filed it
recently
last
as a
year.
year ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be dead in the water too if we try that.
So, so that's not the great compromise if we moved it up to,
No.
50, moved it down to 50.
No. So what I talked to them about, and I gave Ken Buckland the woman's card from DHCD that I spoke with today, was asking if they would find some way to sit and talk to us about how we incentivize the existing mobile home parks to maybe change the way they function, how it works, to possibly convert from the mobile homes into a better home setup. In other words, better homes for the people living there, which would also change the tax base, et cetera, and the value of the property as well. It's just a thought, but, you know, the problem is that, and I'm not picking on any particular type, but at the end of the day, the mobile home parks usually have a negative cash flow to the town. And there's got to be a better way to do things for the people living there as well. So I know I'm stretching the envelope quite a bit, but since we can't get them included in the tax rolls as far as affordable housing, and we actually take a hit because we have 1,100 approximately, I'd like to just keep after this in a different way. We actually last year, I believe Derek and I think Peter also talked to DHCD about changing the terminology of what affordable house was. We didn't get anywhere with that at all. And I have spoke to one of the, actually the president of the mobile home parks, not the actual people living there, but the actual owners of the property, about deeding their property affordable. There wasn't very much resistance as a possibility. And I also brought that up today too. So I'm hoping Ken and Chris from DHCD will sit down and have a meeting and talk about things because she offered to help. So let's see what we can do, because we're just spinning our wheels every year.
Well, there is,
Go ahead.
there is a new cabinet secretary for the housing and community development, and so maybe it would be worth having the conversation with the new person about trying to go forward and see if the regulations could be changed. This wouldn't, they can't change the law, only the legislature can do that. But the regulations can actually be changed simply with notice and a 30-day comment period and then a decision internally. So that's what we were trying to do last year with Secretary Ash, but he was stymied by his own legal department. But there's no reason why we can't approach the new secretary and see what they have to say.
On that particular area, I have my first Mass Municipal Association Directors Meeting next Tuesday. I actually asked Mr. Sullivan and also Kimberly Schaefer, who are the school superintendents, to supply me with some background information on the challenges facing this year as far as running the town, running the schools. Hopefully we'll be speaking on both those issues first at the MMA board meeting, and then I'll be also at the local governors advisory council that I'm on with the lieutenant governor who heads the meeting up on these issues as well. and I'll probably be able to bring up both of these subjects. And I'll also be meeting with the new secretary of DHCD, which is the last name Kennelly. Mr. Sullivan gave me a little graph piece to give him a little coin from Wareham, plus his business cards, and we're going to ask him if he will come down and sit down and talk to us.
Just one further thing on the whole mobile homes is affordable. I read a comment from someone, I forget who made it, but complaining that, or somehow implying that it was Representative Gifford's fault that the bill that we filed never made it out of committee. I mean, I've gone up and testified on this thing 3 times. I know Selectman Whiteside went up one time and testified on it. You know, when you go in front of these joint committees with a municipal bill, you can tell by looking at their faces and their body language whether they're interested or not. For example, when I've gone up there a couple of times to testify on charter changes, you know, you can joke around with them, ha ha, everybody's ha ha, ho ho. They could care less politically about this stuff, so they're happy to pass it through and send it, you know, to the respective chambers for a final vote and approval. When you go up there with the affordable housing thing and you testify before the Joint Committee on Housing, they just look right through you. So I've been in there myself. I've been in there with Representative Gifford. She's tried to get support for it. You just get stonewalled in that committee. It has nothing to do with her. It has nothing to do with the effort that she puts forward to try to get these bills through committee and back to the floor for a vote. They just die in committee. The committee kills them. So I just want to make it clear that she goes up there and gives it her best shot. She tries to lobby these people. She tries to buttonhole them. She does all those things. But the affordable housing lobby so far remains impervious to this sort of thing, and the people that you know, maybe receive a campaign contribution or 2 from them aren't going to yield.
Just as a sidebar as well, on this particular issue, the problem is that Wareham and Carver represent about around figure 2,000 mobile homes. We represent, I think, 19% of the mobile homes in the state of Massachusetts. There are so few communities that have them. When you try and get this bill in there, there is no traction because there is nothing for most of the 351 communities for the state reps or the state senators to sit and basically promote this issue. There's nothing for them. And unfortunately, the way our government works, when you have bills and stuff, everybody's looking for something for their own, you know, areas and stuff. And where this has no effect whatsoever, it just dies. And it does die in committee. It doesn't even get to the floor.
Last time this came up many years ago, when the first time we put it forward, it was killed by the Massachusetts Realtors Association.
It's still at it.
And they have been consistently against this legislation, consistently against it. And I don't understand why. I don't know what their whole insight is, but they have fought it and fought it and fought it and fought it. They fought it back then and they killed it, and they're a pretty good lobbying group, and they get these things to happen. And it's too bad, but it happens.
That's enough for me today.
All right. Next up, minutes. Oh, go ahead.
You want to say something about the line painting that you heard back from Mass
Oh, okay. Selectman Bruce sent me a note reminding me that over by the mall on Route 195 and Route 28, the white lines, there is no white lines. They're supposed to be there, but they aren't there anymore. So because I'm involved doing a lot of stuff at the state level, et cetera, I made a phone call, and they said, yes, we know all about it. We agree with you, it's not good, whatever, but because of the cold weather and the time of year, probably by March, when the weather is acceptable, they can do it, they'll be coming out and doing those lines. It's on their priority list.
Okay, good news. Next up is minutes. I move we approve the January 8, 2019 minutes. Everyone was present.
Motion by Patrick, second by Tony. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? One comment, we had it on agenda last week, I'm not sure how we missed it, a bunch of executive session minutes that we were supposed to approve and release.
They were not in the packet.
Yeah, I don't know what happened, so I'm gonna have them on the
So
agenda for
I
next week.
couldn't do something that wasn't in the
Didn't
packet.
say that, just wanted to make a note.
So if you could,
Minutes, exec. Okay, consent agenda,
hold on a minute.
got nothing else left.
Oh.
Need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Patrick, second by Tony. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Good night, Wareham.